Hi everyone, Michael Rubenfeld here. Hope you're having a nice Saturday. It's Saturday anyways, when I'm recording this. I'm recording it from Poznan, where I'm performing my play Altaheim Started Dome. We've had 3 performances out of 4 so far. Tomorrow, Sunday, is the final performances of the season in the theater in Poland. The season ends at the end of June, and because we're performing now in the middle of May, we won't be performing the show in June, and then we'll take a break until September. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about, well, something basically inspired by what happened to me yesterday after my performance, which is that I had a gentleman. I'm not sure if he follows me on YouTube, but he did come to my performance because he saw me on TikTok. I was doing a TikTok live, which I like to do sometimes. And he caught my TikTok live. And on my live, I was talking about my performance, Altaheim Stadedom. And he lived in the Poznan area, and he very kindly made the decision to come and see my show, which I greatly appreciated. And he waited for me after the show. And I thought we would be having a nice conversation after the show about the show. And I was mistaken. So after the show, this gentleman wanted to talk to me about Israel. He wanted to talk to me about what we could do to encourage peace in the Middle East, which was, a surprising thing to be confronted with, even though perhaps I shouldn't be so surprised because, many people want peace. And it's a very intense time of the images and the information that we're receiving about what's happening in Gaza, the worldwide protests. And this man was feeling very emotional about what was happening. And he basically, he said to me he'd been watching the protests in America, and he wanted to know what he as a Polish person could do. He wanted to talk to me about what he felt I should be doing in order to promote peace in the Middle East. And I'll get back to that in a second. First of all, he wanted to talk about the fact that Jews and Palestinians should be able to coexist. They should be able to get along. He wanted to use Polish history with the Germans as an example of the possibility of coexistence. He himself was someone who works with Germans, and he gets along with Germans. He speaks German himself. Of course, we're in Poznan. It's a very German area. And he wanted to use this as an example of how coexistence is possible. Peace between quote-unquote enemies is possible. So why isn't it possible in Israel and Palestine? And, I think it's a reasonable question to ask. But he was very misinformed, or let me be clear, he knew very little about the conflict or the history of the land or why the conflict was happening. He didn't understand anything about the policies of the Israeli government. He didn't understand anything about the policies of Hamas. He didn't really know much about Hamas. He just wanted peace, and he didn't understand why peace was not happening. I felt like he wanted something from me because I'm Jewish. He wanted to talk to me about it because I'm Jewish, because he believed that what he could do as a Polish citizen was explain to me as a Jew that coexistence is possible. And ultimately, the conversation ended with him saying or requesting that I do more with my connections in Israel in order to promote peace. It was, wow, very complicated because, it was clear that because of my Jewishness, he was making a whole series of assumptions about who I am. He's someone who, like many people in the world right now, are kind of feeling very emotional about what is happening in Gaza and Israel and wants the killing to stop. He wants to do something about it, but he doesn't know anything about what's going on. I don't really want to use this as a history lesson because, as a Jewish person who knows a lot about the history, who's constantly trying to educate himself more, it's not so simple. There are things that happened in the past historically that make the possibility of peace right now very difficult. I see personally the two main problems being that right now neither the Israeli government nor Hamas, who are the de facto Gazan government, neither of them are actually interested in peace. They're not interested in peace. They're not interested in a two-state solution. That's not even on the table. Without that being on the table, which is really like, in my opinion, what most Palestinians and Israelis want. They want a two-state solution. They want peace. They want safety. They're being ruled by leaders and leadership who have ulterior motives. Hamas doesn't want a two-state solution. Hamas wants to wipe Israel off the map. That is who slaughtered 1,200 Israeli Jewish people on October the 7th. That is who kidnapped Israeli people, citizens. And that is who Israel has waged war against, Hamas. They want to kill Jews. That's just a fact. It's written in their constitution. Israel is currently ruled by Benjamin Netanyahu. Before Netanyahu, it was Ariel Sharon. Before Ariel Sharon, it was Menachem Begin. Before that, it was Yitzhak Rabin. Yitzhak Rabin was the prime minister of Israel who got the closest to peace. When Yasser Arafat was alive, there was an agreement made that led ultimately to the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin by an Israeli extremist. And since the assassination of Rabin, this idea of peace with Palestine, this idea of a two-state solution has been in free fall. The problem that remains is that Palestinian people should be free. Everyone has the right to be free. Everyone has the right to self-determination. Palestinian people are not free. They're controlled by Israel, which is a problem. I'm against the occupation, and I have always been against the occupation. But the only way to end the occupation from the Israeli side has been if the violence from Palestine would end. However, the violence in Palestine is not going to end until not only do Palestinian people get freedom, but justice in the form of self-determination, which is something that the governments of Israel for the last 30 years have had no interest in offering. So we have a very, very complicated situation. It's been complicated for a long time. And, this has been a conversation about, peace in the Middle East that a lot of Jews and Arabs have been a part of for years and years and years. To give you an example, I went on a trip to Israel a free trip to Israel because I'm Jewish, and there's an organization called Taglit that offers Jews 26 and under a free trip to Israel called Birthright. And that was about 20 years ago, and I haven't been back since. Mostly because I have a very difficult time with the idea that Jewish people should reap the benefits of Israel while the Palestinian people are under occupation, while the Palestinian people are not free. And so my form of protest, in a way, has been to just not go to Israel. I, in fact, moved from Canada to Poland to step into my Polish Jewish identity, in a way, as, I wouldn't say a form of protest, but in a way of self-actualization, self-identifying, in a way of saying, no, this is the kind of Jew that I am. I am a Jew who's from Poland. This is my homeland. This is where I shall return to, and I have. But then October 7th happened, and then the attack on Gaza and the now very high level of civilian deaths that have happened in Gaza. Suddenly all the Jews of the world are culpable. And now this has become our business, whether you like it or not. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about it. Our governments have their own agendas, and once they get into power, they implement their agendas. I believe that there has been an agenda by the people who are in power in Israel at the moment. And just so that you understand, the current Israeli government is the most right-wing, the most extremist government Israel has ever experienced. In order for Netanyahu to maintain power, he formed a coalition with many right-wing extremist groups in order to amass enough power to become the prime minister. But that means that we're currently dealing with a government, an extremist government, who has no interest in Palestinian self-actualization, who want the land all for themselves. That's what I feel. That's not the kind of official messaging, but it seems like that is what is going on. And then at the same time, we've got Hamas, who also want the land all for themselves. And so we are at war. Israel is a lot more powerful. In my opinion, the attack on October 7th was done in a way that it was understood that Israel would retaliate. It was understood that Israel would retaliate as aggressively as they are. And it was understood that it would start a media war that would result in kind of global anti-Zionist movement, which basically means anti-Israel movements. And this is also a part of the wartime strategy. This is a part of the strategy. A strategy that is not operating in a bubble. Hamas is funded and, I believe, directed often by Iran. Iran is in partnership with Russia. And so these factions are working together. Israel is in relationship with America, in relationship with Canada, and they're working together. And they all want very, very different things. And this is a war. This is a fight that's been happening since 1948. So when someone comes up to me and says, hey, can you talk to some people in Israel and encourage them to be peaceful, just the same way that we are with Germans, it's an incredibly strange request to receive. Imagining that somehow me, this Jewish guy who's moved to Poland, who's not Israeli, who really has not wanted to have anything to do with Israel because of how much I opposed the occupation is kind of crazy. I'm upset about what's happening. I'm really upset about what's happening for so many different reasons. But I think it's important that we educate ourselves, which is a hard thing to expect of the world because I think most people will not do the deep dives needed into understanding what's going on. Most people will watch the news or they'll watch Instagram, they'll see very painful images, and then they will have strong feelings and then make decisions about what's going on based on their feelings in that moment. And it just doesn't work that way. Anyways, that's a long video from me today, but I felt like I needed to talk about it because I've been getting a lot of negative energy thrown in my direction because I'm Jewish and because I'm public about my Jewishness. So I understand it because there's a lot of people who having a lot of feelings about what's going on right now in the world. But also, man, now that it's starting to come to me in the real world, it's upsetting and it's kind of disturbing. And I just felt like I needed to talk about it and share. What do you think? Love you.